Hi, thanks for coming. Thank you for Nick for organizing a celebration of happiness for us all. I'm not sure this will actually make you happy, but it's going to be very short, so just sort of bear with me. The ancient Greek term charis means grace, and I became interested in charis in relation to Plato's philosophy, and particularly as Professor Cohen was just discussing, Plato's portrayal of Socrates. So my question is, does Socrates behave with a sense of grace? I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to sort of leave that to the side, and I want to focus a little bit more, or ask you to think how this notion of charis or grace might actually influence our everyday social interactions with one another today, okay? So I'm going to try to sort of keep it relevant, and I will go fairly quickly through some weird Greek terms and ideas. Hopefully, if you have comments, responses, objections, we'll have time to talk a little bit afterwards, okay? The first sorry, I need these. The first documented instance of the word charis actually appears in Homer's Iliad, and it refers to something which is shining and radiant, like the precious metal in a goddess's crown. So originally, what is charis is then something which shines forth. It's beautiful and it's good, and in its presence, we're meant to respond to it. Charis, then, originally is meant to create a type of relationship, okay? Charis will eventually come to mean grace, charm, goodwill, favor, charity, and also joy. Now, what's unique to charis is that while charis can mean all these things, it also means, say, goodwill extended, but also goodwill received. Grace which is bestowed, but also grace which is accepted. A favor which is given, but also a favor which is acknowledged. So in this sense, I believe charis, for the ancients, grace is not just something a person has or possesses as part of their character. You know, I think we're used to saying, this is a gracious person, or this person is charming, or this person is charismatic, right? They draw us in. For the ancients, it's a slightly different understanding. Rather, grace is something that happens or emerges, it comes to be in certain types of relationships. It seems to me to be more a value or an ethic of social behavior. It prescribes, perhaps, for how we could or should treat one another. Does that make sense? So it's a slightly different understanding of grace than I think we use today. Now, so significant is charis in the ancient world that in his Ethics, Aristotle writes, "For this is the essence of charis, of grace, the necessity both to repay a grace done to oneself, but also to initiate gracious action on one's own." So charis is a type of reciprocity. It's a type of give and take, which is motivated originally by something good. It's meant to create a relationship based on our mutual recognition of something good or beautiful or divine. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? No? Oh, okay. All right. Now, what intrigues me about charis is how it stands in relation to the sort of more infamous value in practice of the ancient Greek agon, the contest. Agon refers to the spirit and manifestation of competition. all the practices of competition, all the contests that go on in daily life. And this motivation to be agonistic, to want to compete with another person, is called by Plato in Book 1 of the Republic, pleonexia. So pleonexia, it's a Greek term, but it really means the desire or the motivation to outdo another, right? I want to take you down. That's pleonexia, okay? There is a very strong suggestion in Book 1 of Plato's Republic that this pleonexia, this motivation to compete, is actually the cause of injustice, both social injustice and political injustice. And this is very striking because Plato's culture, as well as ours, is a very competitive culture. We love to compete with one another. We celebrate it. We take pride in it. And so why would Plato criticize this competitive spirit? Why would he criticize the agon? And why would he specifically criticize pleonexia, the desire to compete? And I reasoned out that if we think about it, my desire to win against you, to emerge victorious, means that you must necessarily lose, right? Because the way the agon works, the way contests work, in order for one person to win, everybody else has to lose. Yes, does that make sense? And competition then works to both determine and divide society in terms of winners and losers. Yes? And winners and losers are never equal. So, in a society that organizes and practices its politics in terms of the agon, in terms of competition, in that type of society, citizens will never be equal, and that society will never be just. Make sense? Okay, so this is really bad news for Plato. Very bad news. And I suggest it could also be very bad news for us, because we live in such a competitive society. So then I got to wondering about charis. Well, what about charis as the kind of twin value of how social relationships work? And I found that at least in the ancient world, charis also plays a role in a very simple practice we recognize as gift exchange. How we exchange gifts with one another and what our expectations about gift exchange actually yield. Now, I think we tend to assume, right, that if I give you a gift and you accept the gift, what are you going to do in return? You accept a gift from me. What do I expect? What do I expect if I give you a gift? You're going to give me one in return, right? Yes? So, in a way, gifts are meant to establish types of social relationships. Hence, there's an element of charis also involved in the exchange of gifts. Yes? Now, we could make gift exchange competitive, right? I give you a birthday card. You give me an aromatherapy candle. Thank you very much. I give you a Kindle Fire. Yeah? All right, beat that, right? It's kind of like bring it on. Not that anyone in this room does that, but I think we know, we know people out there who both can and do use gift exchange as a kind of element of competition. But notice when I do that, when I give you that Kindle Fire, I'm doing it in my own self-interest because I want something back from you. Yeah? All right. Now, as an alternative to this way of practicing, I think if we think about it more, we'll come to realize that actually a gift only becomes a gift when you accept it from me. If I give you a birthday card and you don't, sorry, did that ricochet? Okay. If I give you a birthday card and you don't accept it, or worse, you don't give me something back, you are saying to me, I refuse to be in a relationship. I refuse to be obligated. I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Yes? If you do accept it, then you're saying, I do want to be in a relationship with you. So to a certain extent, the power of the gift is on the person who accepts it, not the person who bestows it. Does that make a certain amount of sense? Okay. So, charis is very similar to this. Actually, I theorize that charis is what fuels these types of relationships. In the words of Bonnie McLachlan, who's a classicist, she writes, a charis event is disarming. It is meant to break down the barriers that confine the self. It asks that a beneficiary reach out to another. But if this does not happen, if the person who confers the benefit or the favor or the gift is left, right, if that's not returned, if it's not accepted, that person is left exposed and vulnerable. And this is cause for alarm. So I suggest that the force or the power of grace or charm or even charity or goodwill, it resides not in the person who offers it, but in the person who accepts it and receives it. And so for the ancients, charity does not begin at home, right? It does not begin with me. It begins with you. And perhaps if I can begin to focus less on outdoing you, but more on leaving myself open to whether or not you accept what I have to offer, if we can change our mindset this way, then perhaps once again, we can begin to create grace between us. Make sense? Yeah, a lot. I'm referring to like scholarship on gift practices and how it's the exchange of gifts that actually cause societies to emerge and become, right? Because the gift is a concrete expression of our relationship, right? The gift is kind of that third thing that you and I can point to and say, look what we created together. This proves that we want to be in a relationship with one another. Whereas, if you just tell me, where's my proof? Does that sort of make sense? Not really? Okay. It's another way of thinking about it. It's another way of thinking about it. Yeah. So this idea that I think we're very cynical about gifts. We don't think about them. We just sort of exchange them. The season is soon upon us, right? But if we really look at what they do and we approach them differently, then that could perhaps change even our behaviors to one another, right? Because you don't have to accept it from me, right? The power of the gift, the power of the relationship is with you, not with me. But right. You kind of feel bad. Like Socrates, I am a gift from the gods to the city of Athens. Right? So, anyway.
Why must he feel bad, the giver who is rejected? Why is that necessarily making him feel bad?
Well, because I wanted to start something, right? And you're like, no, I don't want to deal with you.
That's just the way reality works.
I don't even think that's reality to us, to be honest. I think we say, well, I better take this, right? Think of it in terms of charity. When we bestow charity through social and political, right, I think the people who receive it feel, I better take it. They don't really have a voice. They don't really have a choice, right? And there's a power sort of excuse me, play going on that I think could be, it's destructive. It silences people. But if I recognize that I have a choice whether to accept your charity, I have a choice whether to accept your favor, I'm free in that way, I think that creates more equality in social and political relationships. So I'm just thinking about it, I think, differently than you are. I'm not thinking about it so much as an individual, but rather as a social practice. Is that?
That's probably where my thinking is mixed up.
I don't think you mix up. Yeah, yeah. But under this idea that it's actually gift exchange is like the first economy, and all other economies are built on the original exchange. That's how villages and cities come to be. So I'm going at it, the principle of the gift, so to speak. Yeah. Thank you, though. I hope that clarifies it. Okay. Weird stuff, eh? I didn't get the last. A potential gift is a... Yeah. No, it's a great question. It goes back to this idea of internal motivation. And so Trojan horse is really not a gift, right? Yeah, jeez, right? It really isn't. So what makes a gift is both the motivation of the giver, right? But if that is accepted, then we're kind of agreeing in a kind of unspoken way. Yeah, we're gonna try this out. We're gonna have a relationship. And the Trojan horse, I think, uses a gift more in a competitive sort of fashion. Yeah. Yeah? It's a good question, though. Thank you for your patience.